There are a good number of reasons why I adore the Steam Next Fest. Maybe the biggest plus for it is the sense of discovery. I was talking about this Next Fest versus previous ones with a coworker. We said it was lacking a bit, but the following day, after looking into some titles and trying demos, we realized it was a whole lot better than what we initially thought. It just required some work to be put into instead of being hand-fed particular games based on charts, trends, and lists. Finding the real treasure won't be spoon-fed for you. For my video, I'll be talking about all the games I played through on stream throughout the week of the Next Fest. I'll be giving a nice summary of what I liked, what I didn't like in the games. And if you follow me on Blue Sky, you can see what I awarded as the best game of each day that I streamed. I will include that on screen for you to see as well. Last time I ranked them all, but I would prefer this, just giving the daily awards. I am listing the games in chronological order of how I played them. So let's get right to talking about those demos. I started off the Next Fest with Insider Trading, a gambling style deck builder where numbers go up. It has cool features I liked. It's always fun to watch how a stock chart moves, and that is the basis behind the whole game. I like that after every turn you are required to add both a card to positively impact the market and one that negatively impacts it. And while the bear or bad cards seem worse, they create a unique situation. When a turn starts, based on what your hand is, you buy shares to sell after your cards have adjusted the price, or you pass. The cards still impact the price, you just aren't penalized for the falling price. This could cause a situation where you cause the price to go on clearance essentially. You get in cheap before it rockets up in price. It's a nice take on deck builders, but I'll have to see more of what they have in mind for me to know the longevity of it.
Because we got a lot of it went down, so that's good for this next for on Wednesday we can buy when it's cheaper.
After Insider Trading, I was excited to try Ratatan. I missed out on playing Patapon for the PSP growing up. Ratatan features some people that worked on it. Has a great look to it. The art pops and flows well with the beat, but something felt off when playing the demo. The timing when hitting the buttons for strikes didn't feel like it matched up with the music, and while playing, the dialogue moved at such a pace that I couldn't read most of it. I tried to read it aloud, only for it to move forward automatically before I could finish. Like the developers said in the intro, this is a chance for them and so many others to hear the issues and complaints from the other players. I hope they fix what I found problematic. Then I tried out Star Overdrive, and I'll cut to the chase. This game majorly missed with me. The download time for the demo was like 20 minutes, and I have fiber internet. 20 minutes is what I expect from dial-up. The biggest place where I thought Star Overdrive was missing was the tone. The starting cutscene tries to feel like it's a dramatic scenario, but the leads didn't grab my attention. Combat with the protagonist's weapon is a keytar. Not only did it have problems with the narrative tone, but its identity. You gather plants like you're playing a survival crafting game, only to start riding your hoverboard like a Tony Hawk character. The planets and visuals look cool and interesting, but the gameplay and story wasn't. Sometimes you need a game that isn't for the story, the addictiveness, or reinventing the wheel. I've gained a revived appreciation for arcade games. Platypus Reclayed answers that. I had no idea it was a game originally released in 2002 with the same visuals. I thought maybe it was turning a game into clay. But no, it first came out when I was 9 years old. It doesn't add anything new to this shoot 'em up genre. It just has a coat of paint that is very rarely seen in the genre or games in general. and it does it really well. A chatter talked about the small details of enemy ships breaking apart as they lost health. The explosions are nice to look at too. It's good to play something that feels comfortable to get into. You aren't learning new mechanisms or going through a big tutorial. You pick up the controller, pop in a metaphorical quarter, and play until game over. I liked it.
Yeah, like, this could be any type of art. Like, it could be just 8-bit or 16-bit, but the fact that it's, like, pretty detailed claymation art is really fabulous to me.
For my game of day one, I stumbled into trying MotionRec, a game that had not been on my radar until the day of me streaming. It does a lot that works with my personal taste. It has a 1-bit art style that is iconic, that does not get in the way of the gameplay. But the gameplay is the real star of the show. Like Kato from last year, it focuses on its unique mechanisms and forces you to think on how to solve puzzles using it. For MotionRec, the twist is that you record the movements of your character and can use that recording to traverse in ways that you couldn't walk or jump to. For example, say I need to get onto a cliff that is triple the height of my jump. But on the opposite side of the cliff, there are platforms that I can jump up. I record myself jumping up those platforms, then play the recording to vault myself to the top of the cliff. It really makes for the fun aha moments. Games like MotionRec are the reasons why I really enjoy the Steam Next Fest, because I had no idea about it until that week.
Okay, still doing well. Oh, sick.
To finish out my first day, I played Easy Delivery Co. There are a lot of things to describe about the game. It has this retro look and feel like it's PS1 style graphics and using an in-game operating system to manage your delivery jobs, maps, and messages. The game has that pop-in fog that you see from games that are open world, but they aren't powerful enough to have it on screen. Like early Silent Hill games, it helps to create a mood through an ominous fog. The game has the feeling of tension without it rearing its head. Reminds me a lot of normal fishing, where the fear comes from the eerie feels and not the jump scares. In reality, there wasn't anything that scared me at all in Easy Delivery Co. Everything just felt off. And not as a critique to the game, but as a positive. Add in things like freezing to death if you're out of your truck for too long, managing if your goods fall out of the truck bed, and A/X not being the button to do actions. It may be one of the very few games I've seen where you have to shut the tailgate, and it is necessary to make sure it's shut, otherwise the goods will fall down the hills. Fabulous balance of casual gameplay and feelings of unease.
Is it the same person? Yeah, I think so. Greetings. Nice to see you again. It's been a while since I've spoken to someone new.
Before I started day 2, I realized that it wasn't optimal to randomize and pick games that I would be streaming live, as the day before, one demo took 20 minutes to download like I talked about. I learned a lesson from that mistake, so I picked what games I would be streaming prior, published the results on Blue Sky, and having all the names of games in the stream title. There were many days where I wouldn't get to a title, and would either get to it on the following days or may not see time on stream. But after learning from my errors, I had no break, no gain on the docket. The game is very funny. It almost acts as a precision platformer with no jump where you drive a car over obstacles. My main reason for not keeping at it for a lengthy time was its placement of difficulty very early on. I played for around 20 minutes but was only able to complete one level. Now that may seem like I quit too early, but it only took 5 attempts for me to beat the first level. 15 minutes without beating the second level is discouraging. I would advise the developers to keep the level in the game, but put easier levels before it. I'm a seasoned gamer, but turned away from it. A lot of casual gamers may like the experience, but turn away from the difficulty even sooner.
Well, got stuck, and that means...
Absolum wasn't on my initial list of games, but the Best Indie Games channel talked me into trying it from one of their videos talking about the next fest. The game is really cool. It's from the same developer who developed the reboot of Streets of Rage in 2020. Absolum is a new fantasy universe that Guard Crush has developed. The beat-em-up aspects feel similar to their prior games. Where it stands out is it is a roguelite. You finish a bit of a fight to have a choice of buffs for your character. It takes a classic genre of games and adds a modern take to make it interesting. The nice things don't stop with the differences though. Good voice acting, great visuals, it makes for a good package. I'm gonna try the demo off stream with my wife since it has local co-op.
Yeah! Oh, well. Okay.
This one has a little bit of a caveat because I backed it on Kickstarter in 2022, but it is one to be excited for since it is the second game from Yacht Club Games, their first being the modern classic Shovel Knight. Where Shovel Knight sought inspiration from Mega Man, Mina the Hollower is inspired by 2D Zelda games. Much of the game is played from the top-down perspective of Mina going through dungeons. It has some really nice modern conveniences like checkpoints, shortcuts that you make once you reach a certain point, and the last enemy that killed you looting your body so you can pick up the items from your inventory without starting from square one. I expect to stream the full game around Halloween when it goes live.
Nice, okay.
On day 3, I started off with a strange game in Baby Steps, the newest game from Bennett Foddy. The demo isn't near the stressor like getting over it and co-op can be, but it is close. It makes a big deal out of him doing normal tasks. The description of the game states, he discovers a power he never knew he had, putting one foot in front of the other. Totally absurd premise, and it dwells in it. The setting Nate is in and the interaction he has are so dumb. You personally get anxious when you walk up to the dreaded obstacle of a set of stairs. The game is definitely out of my wheelhouse and not for everyone, but the demo provided a unique experience that hooked me.
Okay. Not that way.
I really like listening to Mark Brown analyzing games, hosting the best game jams, and developing his first game with his YouTube channel, Game Maker's Toolkit. Last year, he put out Mind Over Magnet, a puzzle platformer. Wordplay is a roguelite word game. You're given Scrabble-like tiles and asked to make words out of them. You generate bonuses if the words are longer, but after achieving the point value asked, you can alter tiles to give bonuses in different ways. Really thinking without having to deal with the pressure of time.
Got it. Okay. That's gonna be good because it adds another tile slot.
Possessors has some good things for it and some bad things, both for me personally. It uses the Smash Bros style of combat where your attacks are varied if combined with the directional press. I always give a thumbs up to that, because it is simple but provides different ways you can handle different enemies based on the situation it presents. I always enjoy seeing that type of moves / combat done in a single player title. The thing that stands in the way for me personally is the theme. I've always had a resistance to possession in the demonic sense. Always has made me feel uncomfortable. The gameplay was good, but it didn't stick out. It could be that I'm not massively into Metroidvanias like I am others. It's been a half decade since I played Hollow Knight, and if I play a Metroidvania, I enjoy the Metroidvanias a little more. Not that I like using that slang for those games, but it best describes what I like in games like Tunic, Animal Well, and Fez.
That's what it is. Okay.
The elevator pitch I will give for CloverPit. Combine the slot machine of Luck Be a Landlord, the movement around the room like Inscription, and the tone and visuals of Buckshot Roulette. As Luck Be a Landlord is an all-time favorite of mine, I'll stick to comparing those two. Instead of building your own slot machine, you alter payouts and probability in CloverPit. The game has two currencies, money and Clover tickets. Money is what you need to pay your debt and used in the slots, and Clover tickets are what you're used to buy trinkets that alter the machine. You can choose to spend more money, spend 7 times, and get a single Clover ticket, or spend less, spend 3 times instead of 7, and you get 2 tickets. The visuals add a feeling of dread more than just the looming rent that is due. The thing that stood out most is the slot machine works like an actual slot machine. It pays based on traditional symbols being lined up in certain patterns, and their payouts are what trinkets can change. Compared to some of the other gambling deck builders, CloverPit does something different with the setting, tone, and attachments to traditional gambling that have me invested in getting it. I will say, personally, I pulled the lever 4 times in a row with no payout each time. It makes me very thankful that I don't gamble in real life.
Let's see what's over here. I don't have enough, so we'll just do 7 spins.
Let's go gambling.
Bits and Bops is a pleasant looking rhythm game. It is very funny, like in the first scenario where a cat takes a picture of a dolphin playing with a beach ball. I have 2 issues after playing the demo. First, the song variety was a little limited. The 3rd and 4th songs sounded very similar. Not sure how similar they were, if any at all. They just had a similar song on first impression when I was playing. The second issue is that I feel like the headphones had some delay when playing. With many other rhythm games, it begins the game with a way to sync up the sound based on your sound delay. I didn't notice having that feature when playing, but I feel like it would be a huge help for the final release. Overall, fun game.
The fact that it had just a picture of your feet. So,
Petaka got on my radar based on its looks. A first-person shooter with pixelated enemies and bright colors. Usually you don't see sprites looking like this in a 3D setting.
It's nice that it has
cutscenes almost had a Mega Man style to them that went well with the aesthetics. The look fits well with the gameplay as it is retro, just retro in a different manner. My closest comparison is with Doom. Not the remake, but the original 90s
there's
Doom.
a secondary shot.
Boomer shooter. It has smooth gameplay and has you wanting to try to make it further than you just did before dying. One to keep an eye on if you like classic id Software games.
Okay.
I hate to be negative, but Davy X Jones was my biggest letdown of the fest. I was incredibly excited when I was browsing the page earlier in the day. The graphics look cool, and I love the idea of playing a silent protagonist where another character speaks to them, like Wheatley and GLaDOS from Portal. But Davy X Jones wasn't performing well at all. There was so much slowdown. When you get moving and enemies come to strike you, there was a good amount of slowdown of them approaching you. I was worried as soon as I started to boot it up because it would start causing slowdowns for OBS that I was running for my stream. That never happens. Once Davy Jones was thrown to the bottom of the ocean, the setting looked good, but the slowdown persisted. The interactions between Davy's head and his body weren't hitting my taste in comedy. The line said by Davy had more of the joke feel of High on Life as opposed to the humor of Portal 2. The story didn't make a lot of sense either. They made Blackbeard out to be this bad guy, but didn't really explain why. In reality, Davy Jones felt just as bad, killing a crewmate off of a flip of a coin. It may have been a taste aspect for some parts that weren't gameplay issues, but the slowdown has to be fixed. I love the original Islanders. It's one I've had for years. It's great puzzle.
What else?
It's a great
Seaweed
casual
Farms.
puzzle roguelite that I could see my mom or grandparents enjoying. New Shores adds things like new buildings and boons like you would see in traditional roguelites. From what I played, I was reminded of how much I liked the original game, but I am unsure of which would be better. The new buildings are really cool. Things like a lighthouse are interesting because you have to access more open space for the light. I'm unsure there's enough that is different to make an entire sequel versus doing a DLC. What I personally would like is a video detailing the difference between the two and what New Shores brings to the table that Islanders can't offer. Do I see myself getting the game? Probably. With that in mind though, I still ask those questions for others. I really liked my play of Skeleseller for both in-game reasons and for personal stream reasons. I'll give my personal reasons first. It was a game that Kid Boged put in his chat on a recent live stream, so it got added to my list from that. Then, while I was streaming the demo, the developer rated my channel, which got me my most viewed stream of all time. It means so much to me, so thank you Kevin and Adam. But about the game. NPCs of the game help you manage your town, where you sell goods, farm, and send adventurers out to raid. You don't send them out into their battles or off screen either, though. A mini window for the fight pops up. You can move it around the screen and size it to where it fits best to what you want to see. You can have 3 raid parties on 3 different windows. The game was really fun, relaxing, and a cool twist on that casual style of game that incorporated city management aspects. Excited for the full release.
Oh, they were close, but I got really scared, so I just dipped out.
Thousand Deaths is very interesting. The story goes through a character who is envisioning regrets that he had in his life. He replays them through TV shows where the TV is the main character you play as. He replays the possible choices that the main character could have made, altering their endings or levels entirely. We're used to games having multiple endings, but not seeing the level change around us based on our decisions. It's also interesting through the gameplay. If the edge of the floor is rounded, the gravity shifts to keep you attached to the floor. It makes to where you're solving level puzzles based on the use of gravity to reverse to an exit that is upside down below your feet. Visually, I connect it to a more psychedelic Yellow Taxi Goes room, which is saying a lot. The game can be pretty out there, but I thought 1,000 Deaths is one that more people should be talking about.
We were going to have a good time at the club when the kid starts copying everything their brother does. What a loser.
Aslimelate got on my radar when I saw the developer Spasm promoting it. We follow each other on Blue Sky, and that prompted me to give it a try. It is a relaxing Suika-like game. No big tutorial, no hard mechanisms to learn, nothing. You place a slime in the grid, and once you get a set of at least 3 adjacent, they combine into the next step up of a slime. If you can make a set bigger than 3, you get some coins, which you can use at a market to get specific slimes or items that would be added to your queue. One thing I might request to Spasm for the full edition is a slow chart or something to show the progression of slime from the lowest to the highest ranks. I say slow as in it doesn't show you all the slimes from the beginning, but one that reveals slimes as you unlock them. Overall, really cool. One of the few demos I went back to after playing it on stream.
What is... Oh, clone. Get this.
Consume Me is one of the most unique games of this Next Fest. The gameplay is very minigame focused, like WarioWare titles. Which ones are your choice and not random? They all spread to tell the story of a high schooler fighting to lose weight after being insulted by her mother. The writing and gameplay are really fun, but the story in particular can be rough for some. I know people who have counted calories, This would be a game that would get under their skin, trigger negative thoughts, and eat at their emotions. It's very similar to the Kendrick Lamar song We Cry Together. They are both awesome to look at from the outside where you do not deal with those issues. But if you are immersed in weight issues or relationship conflicts, to connect it back to the mentioned piece of media, you are turned off by them. You are trying to distance yourself from real world issues, not to swim in those same issues that you want to escape. This is what makes Consume Me so interesting, yet controversial. This is an autobiographical depiction of her life through these things. Even though they are hard for others, seeing it done through a video game is a breath of fresh air. Really stunned me, so easily one I will pick up.
Okay, there was an instructions thing, I didn't even see it. Oh gosh, messed up there. Perfect. Thank you, doggo.
Unfortunately, I went to ReWire and could not get past the tutorial. I'm not sure if I messed up or the game had me soft locked. But I would try to move circuits around to make the required connections, but the circuit board would explode. It would move on to the next part, even though it didn't appear to succeed. Then I would do the same thing on the second scenario, explode again, but unable to move any pieces. The biggest help would be to better explain what to do and add a quick restart button to the game. I don't know if I'm the problem or the demo had problems.
By default, blocks move one space per turn. Try drawing a path from this block.
I went to Zakon initially for its look. The graphics have that early PS1 graphics, like when Snake is outside of Shadow Moses and the snow falls around him. The narrative of Zakon is interesting, as you are a military pilot for what feels like a communist country in the future. They make certain not to name any place specifically, but you can read between the lines. I've played flight-based games before, but Zakon is very different. As opposed to the pilot of a jet, you pilot a hovercopter that can move in a 360 fashion, and while that sounds cool, it makes for really difficult to control. You have places where you need to fly, but due to the controls, I was unable to stay in the required zone. And in a second attempt, even find the place at all. It could be that I'm not most experienced in flight simulator games. But if I were to make a suggestion, I would suggest some simpler controls that you can toggle on and off, similar to modern controls being used in fighting games. This could be a way that Zakon is seen by more players and reach people that may be turned off by flight simulators and attracted to the settings or look of the game.
I'm not sure where. Okay.
There are a lot of things that Windswept have going for
Got that. Nice.
My two biggest comparisons are Donkey Kong Country and the Mario and Luigi series. Donkey Kong Country is obvious. It's a platformer that sees two characters climbing ropes, shooting out barrels, and collecting stars, similar to the bananas. If you take a hit while having both marbles and checkers, one goes away. It even has a level where you ride on the back of a larger animal friend. The parts that I see similar from the Mario and Luigi RPGs aren't the combat or anything, but the bro powers. If you have both characters alive, they offer abilities that can help you handle enemies or jump high. With a button press, Marbles the Duck picks up his turtle friend Checkers to throw as a weapon. With the same button, but with Checkers as the active character, he picks up Marbles to throw upwards. I feel like if you missed the 2D Donkey Kong game, this is one to check out.
Darn it. This is cool.
There's something satisfying about incremental games. Trainatic does that. You start slowly moving your train down the tracks, just very, very minimal moves. You fire a couple shots to chop down a few trees, but then you're done. You then later on are firing grenades, gathering rocks, and finding more out about the mystical orb that just seems out of reach. I like that you do all this with choices, where you explore parts of the game's tech tree. Really nice. Plus it does all this while looking pleasing.
High story. Oh, that did a lot.
The final demo I tried out for the Next Fest was one that I covered last year in part 2 of my Games Without a Release Date. Starbirds is a game that the animation studio and popular YouTube channel Skeleseller has worked on. They've always had visuals that make their informative science videos entertaining to watch and learn. Atypical colors and use of curves instead of corners, which makes their animation iconic. When you see one of their videos playing, you know who it's from if you know them. Starbirds uses that same style, but it has an interesting mesh of mechanism on top of its standout graphics. You play as, like the title says, birds in space that are traveling about the universe mining asteroids for their minerals. Each place you go can be rotated in a manner so that you see everything on the small surface of each object you land on. You do a tiny bit of what I call city building to set up a mining line to get the ore to your home base. You can move between asteroids as the crew will ship the goods they mine automatically. You may need to move some of the resources between asteroids to combine with other resources at chemistry labs. The unique thing that sets it apart is that when you mine, you have to transport those goods on planets to the ships that will take them where they need to go. The tubes that get ore from their miners to the transport ships stretch across the ground and cannot be crossed over by another pipe. So you have a bit of management of the pipes in addition to the resources you are getting. All this seems stressful, but with that Skeleseller animation, chill music, and lack of combat, it makes for a peaceful game as opposed to many games that may fall in the same genre. And sorry for the pronunciation difficulties. If you see the name spelled out in front of you, you'll understand why I have difficulties.
Oh, those are literally checkpoints.